Welcome to the Black Bibliophile podcast. The Black Bibliophile is a podcast where I, Jazz, read and talk about popular and little-known books, comics, zines, and authors. To quote Haruki Murakami, "If you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking." And with that, let's start the show. Welcome to the Black Bibliophile podcast. It's me, Jazz, your host, here to talk to you about books, zines, and comics. This week's episode is going to be another special episode. I heard that, well, not really that I heard, but I feel like these one book episodes are a little more dynamic, a little more exciting, and I can get more in depth on the books themselves. So I decided for a little while, we'll just keep fooling around with this. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, ideas about this format and what you think about this format, you should definitely leave a review either on Apple Podcasts or send me an email at theblackbibliophile@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about this new format that I'm trying out right now. And I'm glad you guys are sticking around listening. This week, I want to talk about The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. Here's a summary. Maddie and Theo have two things in common. 1, Alexa is their best friend. 2, they hate each other. After an oops, we made a mistake night together, neither one can stop thinking about the other. With Alexa's wedding rapidly approaching, Maddie and Theo both share bridal party responsibilities that require more interaction with each other than they're comfortable with. Underneath the sharp barbs they toss at each other is a simmering attraction that won't fade. It builds until they find themselves sneaking off together to release some tension when Alexa isn't looking, agreeing they would end it once the wedding is over. When it's suddenly pushed up, they only have a few months left of secret rendezvous. They find themselves regretting that the end is near. Two people this different can't possibly have a connection other than the purely physical, right? But as with any engagement with a nemesis, there are unspoken rules that must be abided by. First and foremost, don't fall in love. So this book is the third book in Jasmine Guillory's trilogy, romance novel trilogy. There's not really a name for this trilogy, not that I know of. But the first book is called The Wedding. Oh, wait, no. So this book is called The Wedding Party. Sorry, by Jasmine Guillory. The first book is called The Wedding Date, and the second book is called The Proposal. So The Wedding Date features Alexa, who is mentioned in the summary, and her romance with Drew. The Proposal is Carlos and Nick, and then The Wedding Party is Theo and Alexa's best friend, what's her face, Maddie. And I really enjoyed this book. I liked all three of them. My favorite one being so far The Proposal, mainly because, I don't know, I think I related more to the characters in The Proposal, but The Wedding Party is actually a very fun book. So we start off with Alexa's two best friends, Theo, who is the button-up PR assistant to the mayor of Berkeley, and Maddie, who is Alexa's best friend, who's a stylish, she's funky, fun, free, but also likes to stay home, watch TV. So these two have always been at odds with one another, and the only thing that holds them together is their mutual love and respect of Alexa. So when Alexa gets proposed to by Drew, spoilers alert if you have not read The Wedding Date, I'm sorry, I should have prefaced that with that, but yeah, it's a romance novel. You got to know they're going to get together. It's a romance novel. I've never read a romance novel where they don't get together. That would be crushing. And that would piss me off. Let's be real. So anyways, there's a spoiler alert for The Wedding Date. So, deal with that, or you can stop listening to the podcast now. And all right, let's continue. So Theo and Maddie become Alexa's bridesmaid, and what's she call him? Bridesmen. And they both are in charge of varying things for her wedding, which drive them both mad because, in a moment of weakness and drunk fun, Maddie and Theo hook up, and it is they both decide that it's the best sex either of them have had in a while, and they're like, all right, cool, we're never doing this again. Let's never speak of it. We don't even have to look at each other. Let's just keep going our own separate ways. But then Alexa tells crap. But what happens is every time Maddie and Theo get into a room together, they can't help but have sex. It's just animal magnetism, I'm guessing. They literally cannot keep their hands off each other. They just stare at each other from across the rooms, winking, and all this sexual tension builds up until they both literally explode all over each other. And that's the PG version of that. Because this book, the sex scenes are far more explicit than the books that came before it, and I was pleasantly surprised with the content that I read. And you can take that however you want. I'm trying to keep this PG, but just so y'all know, this one's a little spicier than the other two. So, of course, Theo and Maddie continue to hook up, and they're trying that one of their main rules is not to let Alexa know that they're doing this. They don't want Alexa to worry about them. And they also know that if Alexa found out that they were seeing each other, it'd be like her dream come true. Her two best friends hooking up, she would be unbearable. So they're like, we're going to keep it a secret. One of the main rules is they can't hook up unless they've both seen Alexa that day. So like if they're doing wedding party stuff, that means they can hook up later. And eventually all their rules kind of get blurred, and they both kind of get caught up. And they both decide, hey, I kind of saw Alexa for lunch this afternoon. You want to hang out later? And in the midst of all this, Theo is helping the mayor try to pass this pre-K, universal pre-K initiative, where he's trying to get universal pre-K for all of California, which I think is a great idea in general. And Maddie is furthering her stylist career and has been approached by a news agency to possibly do a show about helping women, like homeless women, transient women, or just women hard on their luck, to get dressed and styled so they can get the jobs of their dreams. So they're both working on this while working on Alexa's wedding and dealing with all the stress that comes with that, because eventually the date gets moved up and everything goes crazy, and trying to fight feelings for one another. So it's hilarious, entertaining, sexy, and I enjoy it. And I also like it because it features, the other books feature, like Drew and Alexa in the first book, The Wedding Date, are an interracial couple. They're white. Drew's white, Alexa's black. And then in The Proposal, it's another interracial coupling. Nick is black and Carlos is Mexican. But in this book, Theo is black and Maddie's black. And I was like, this is cool. I've never read a romance novel that features two black people who are not only furthering their careers, and their lives aren't really that messy. The only messy thing is them messing around with one another. And everything else is like, oh, I want to make sure I can get this audition over with and be professional and make my mom proud and my family proud and show off my skills by also helping out the community. And then Theo's like, well, I'm trying to get seen for being the PR genius that I am and recognized for my talents, also while furthering my career track in politics. Their careers are huge parts of this book, but also them trying to balance everything along with fighting feelings like, oh, we're falling in love, but we don't want to. It's really, really interesting. And I've never seen a book about two black professional people in this kind of context, I guess. Like a romance novel usually that I'm used to with featuring two black leads is like And there's no shade on Zane novels. Those are good. But like Zane and stuff like that, you never quite, it's kind of like a Tyler Perry-esque kind of vibe where everybody's lives are falling apart and somebody's got an STD and some wild soap opera Lifetime stuff happens. That's not this book. That's not what's going on. There is like wild soap opera stuff, but it's not like, oh my God, somebody got shot. It's like, oh my God, we're at a bridal place and we didn't expect to be in the same room together. She looks really cute in that dress. He looks hot in the button down. Theo wears like button downs and cardigans. There's never really any sexy talk about his outfits, but them basically I fucking each other, for lack of a better term, across the rooms in a bridal salon is like the sauciest soap opera moment you get, despite like there's also one other moment, but I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, I enjoy that it's kind of just like normal people trying real hard not to like each other, but they obviously like each other and all they want to do is attack each other every moment, but they're fighting their feelings because they're not sure if the other person feels the same way when obviously they feel the same way. So it's kind of like high school, because really if people just talked about their feelings, this book would be about 30 pages. But we don't want that. That's not fun. Let's have everybody bottle it all up for a cool like 120 pages and see what goes from there. And that's what The Wedding Party is. It's just two characters bottling it all up. I thought it was really good. I noticed that Jasmine Guillory kind of has a pattern or a formula, which I'm not knocking the formula. We all know like Nicholas Sparks has a formula. A lot of authors play to their strengths. And Jasmine Guillory, in these last 3 books, it's kind of the same formula. 2 people who totally dig each other, don't want to be together because of reasons. And so they're going to fight each other's feelings while still jumping each other's bones as frequently as possible, which only exacerbates the problem and makes them catch feelings even more. And every book follows this formula. And then like the formula ends in like, oh no, our feelings all spill out of ourselves because keeping things bottled up is only going to happen with a moment where first you say something awful, then we're not talking. And then we get back together, apologize, and say all our true feelings, and then we fall in love and run into the sunset. That's kind of the formula of all of Jasmine Guillory's books, and I'm not hating it. She does it well every single time, and even though you know it's coming, it approaches in a different way, if that makes sense. So in The Wedding Date, spoilers abound. In The Wedding Date, Alexa and Drew just like stop talking to each other, and they are having like a long distance. Like she's in LA, he's in Berkeley. Flip that. She's in Berkeley, he's in LA. Relationship, and she just goes back up north and like doesn't talk to him, and they have this whole falling out. But eventually there's this huge like Lifetime movie reuniting moment where they tell each other all their feelings, but it's all just like a miscommunication that they were mad at each other in the first place. And in the proposal, it's like the same way. But what was interesting about that one was Carlos told Nick how he felt about her. And then she was like, nope, none of this. We agreed not to be about relationships or feelings. I don't like this. I'm out. And then he calls her cold-hearted and basically a bitch, but not in those words. And she leaves, and then she realizes weeks later, after her girlfriends tell her, girl, you like him. Stop playing. You love him too. And she's like, oh no, I love him. And then it all goes back together. And it's like the same formula for this book. I don't mind the formula. I think it's good. I know it's coming. So I do hope in the future she kind of gets away from that pattern because it's predictive. But again, Nicholas Sparks has sold thousands of books that do the same thing over and over again, and nobody sweats. So I'm just saying that does have a formula if you do not like formulaic tropey books. But if you but I think that's romance novels. If you read romance novels, you will love this book. And it's also just cool to see Black people being normal, leading normal lives, having normal relationship issues. Nothing crazy happens. Nothing outside of the realm of their jobs happens. And that is refreshing in of itself. So I definitely can recommend The Wedding Party. I do recommend you read the first two, The Wedding Date and The Proposal, because if you go in to this book without reading the other ones, you will know what's going on. It's not like you're missing out, but you will miss some of the inside jokes or some of the winks and nods and Easter eggs. So every book is approachable outside of the trilogy. You don't need to read the first one to read the second one to read the third one. It's just cool that you already know these people beforehand. So I do recommend you read The Wedding Date and The Proposal before you go to The Wedding Party. But yeah, all the characters are well-rounded and interesting. I did find Alexa to be weird. Well, in the first book, she was kind of neurotic, but I guess she is planning a wedding, so she is like extra neurotic and extra like, oh my God, the whole time. I thought that was a little aggressive, but I've never planned a wedding, so maybe it is like that, and maybe you do just lose your actual mind. And I did like the ending moment where it kind of got back to who Alexa really is as a character, the Alexa I met in the first book, and how she helps progress the story, I guess. So I do think that's cool. I can't really talk too much because I don't want to spoil the ending, because the ending is really cool in this book and it is different from the other books. So that's another reason why I like it. I would like to see more about these characters, but I would like to see more of them grounded in reality, because yes, it's a romance novel and everything kind of works out in the end. I do like a little bit of humanness, a little more. There's so many characters that have gone through the same trials and tribulations in the exact same way. It's starting to become odd if they all just end up like this. I'd like to see the rose-colored glasses lifted up and see them actually, have relationship issues, have moments, or maybe some of them don't stay together. Maybe they don't all end up like Alexa and Drew and get married and stare at each other all starry-eyed. I'd like to see that, or I just like to see it end at this book and then we move on to some new people. That'd be fun too. But yeah, that's The Wedding Date, guys. Actually, just kidding. Again, the titles are so similar except The Proposal. That is The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. It is out wherever you read books. You can get it at the library. I personally checked it out on Libby. I've had it pre-checked out before it came out, and then the minute it got downloaded or checked out digitally, I read that sucker in like 2 days. So I did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. This is a review podcast, so I gotta tell you all my thoughts and things. But yes, you can check it out on Libby. You can check it out on Hoopla, I believe. I take that back. I keep trying to download any of Jasmine Guillory's books on Hoopla and they don't show up. I don't know if that's Hoopla or if that's me not being able to use Hoopla. But yeah, that's not a thing. And if you have any questions or if you want to tell me what you think about this new format, you can email me at theblackbibliophile@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at the Black Bibliophile and Instagram at the Black Bibliophile. Also, if you would like to support the podcast, you can go on Patreon and become a patron. There I write some fun little reviews and I sometimes upload new episodes. Also, because also is right now my new favorite word apparently, I also have a Ko-fi, and yeah, you can donate there if you'd like. But anyways, I'm enjoying just having these deep dives on these books and talking to y'all about all the books I'm reading. It's a mountain. So look forward to more single book episodes. And yeah, everything that I've mentioned in this episode will be in the bio down below in the show notes. So yeah, talk to you guys next week. See ya.